Welcome to Triumph and Disaster, a show dedicated to manly creativity and culture. Brought to you by your host, Cameron McHarg.
Hey guys, how's it going? This is Cameron McHarg, and we're back with another episode of Triumph and Disaster. And this week we have Jared Safier, who is an Emmy Award winning producer, who might actually be producing my first feature film. We touched on that a little bit, but if you just keep in touch on the blog, you'll probably find out a little bit more about that as we go down the road, but we'll see. It's called Sitiato, but that's another subject. Anyway, you know, I keep saying this. This is the third, it's the third podcast in a row now that I've done outside. All of these guys so far that I've talked to, I've been catching them at really busy times. They're busy guys anyway. And so this one was at State Social House. It's like a cigar bar on Sunset Strip. And we were kind of in a little outdoor patio. It's just a little too loud inside, but you'll hear occasionally, you know, a motorcycle or something like that going by. It's not that bad, but I keep saying this every time that we're not going to record like this, and then we keep doing it. But it's not bad, but just so you know, that's what the deal is. So we talked for about an hour, and it was a great conversation. Had a really good time. And about the last 20 minutes or so, it gets really into the meat and potatoes. It really got kind of, he really talked passionately about what it takes to get a movie made, and, you know, the kind of incredibly hard work that this guy puts in. It's really something, and I'm really glad that he did. So stick around for the whole thing. Hope you enjoy. Here's Triumph and Disaster. All right. So I'm here with Jared at the State Social House on Sunset, West Hollywood. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
So we've been hanging out for sure. We've been hanging out for a little while, at least an hour or two here before we got started. Yeah. And telling a lot of stories that you can't necessarily tell, unfortunately, at least not with names.
Yeah, some of them might have to be edited a little bit, but I think I can share some of them if it's a little edited. Let's
start out a little bit. Keep the mic close to your mouth.
Sorry.
All right, we'll keep that in. Don't worry about it. You want to sort of introduce yourself a little bit? I'm just curious, like, you can tell everybody a little bit about what you do and what your history is.
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Jared. I have been a agent, manager, producer. I worked for NBC Universal for a little bit. When Comcast acquired them from GE, I was there during the acquisition when they were taking them over. I run a mini indie studio, producer.
Emmy-winning producer, by the way, right?
Emmy-winning producer, yeah. For
so you don't have to toot your own horn.
For our show, The Bay. We won an Emmy this past year as the best new media drama, which is great because new media is actually, we are up against Hulu, and Netflix would be in our category as well, although we weren't against Netflix this past year. Who knows this year? And we actually find out in 7 days if we're nominated again.
Jesus Christ. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So that new media being like basically a series that's like online sort of.
Yeah, anything that's not on a physical network.
Right.
So any website, Netflix, Hulu, Roku,
Amazon.
Right. Yeah, so anything that is not a stereotypical TV station is considered new media.
But the competition is pretty stiff.
It is
on those
a
things.
Very difficult category, and yeah, we won best drama, outstanding drama.
And so you've done all this stuff, and you're a young guy, by the way. You can't have that many years in doing all this stuff for all these accomplishments.
Thank you.
I mean, did you start like you started in finance or something?
I started in finance. I used to work for a large finance company for multiple years, and one of my friends, who was an R&B singer, he said, "I know you're good with numbers. I'd like for you to take care of my finances." And from that, you know, I kind of became his money manager, and then moved into being his actual manager. And you know, I helped book a tour for him in Europe. Sweden, Denmark, Germany, France, England. I was like, oh, this could be fun.
So that's how you got. That's kind of how you got started in the whole entertainment.
That's how I got in. Then I started bringing on some more musicians, then DJs.
Obviously, we're outside.
Yeah, got into models. Then I wanted to get more entertainment side instead of like music side. So I actually started a talent agency. Started bringing on actors, actresses, writers, producers, even Academy Award winning director. Sorry, I should specify that.
That's you still have a management company, yeah? Or no?
I still have a management company. Yeah. I've definitely decreased it. I'm a full-time producer, so I've definitely decreased. I had at one point 200 clients, and now I'm down to a handful. So my focus is really producing, but I still manage a few key people that I know I can get jobs, and I know I can use in different productions that I'm actually producing.
So, but you started in finance, but when you were younger or before then, did you ever have a draw towards doing this sort of thing at all? Did you ever think about that at all, or that was all new right when?
Ironically enough, I thought I was going to be the 9 to 5 or 9 to 9 finance guy doing that for my whole life. I didn't even imagine going into entertainment. LA was just a consequence. I came out here and I interned with one of the big finance companies and actually took the position when I was still during summer going into my senior year. I had already accepted a position out here. My brother lived out here, my sister before him. Mm-hmm. So I love the area. I love the weather. So I came out here not having anything to do with entertainment, or not thinking I would have anything to do with entertainment.
And when you started doing it, when you started kind of your little foray into when you started your foray into producing, did you find I mean, aside from the business of it, did you find a personal kind of love for movies and this sort of thing?
Yeah.
Or is it completely 100% business for you?
No, not at all. I did start with the business mind. I knew I wanted to not be in front of the camera, and I knew I wanted to do more business-oriented stuff, and that's why I actually started as a manager and then an agent, and I love the thrill of the deal, I guess. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm a deal junkie, if you want to categorize it like that, mm-hmm. but I didn't think I would be in entertainment at all.
Yeah.
It was kind of a coincidence that it happened. And then once I got into it, I was gung-ho.
Then you loved it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I've always been a movie junkie.
That's what I was wondering. That's sort of what I was getting at. Like if you had a certain kind of, already inherent interest in that sort of thing.
I've definitely, I've loved movies since I was a kid.
Okay, so no wonder you're doing so well once you started down that road. So, like, what kind of, can you talk about that? What's some of your favorite stuff?
Sure. I'm a real big fan of Quentin Tarantino.
Mm-hmm.
I like Reservoir Dogs. I like Pulp Fiction. I like, let's see, Shawshank Redemption was one of my favorites. Forrest Gump. I like some really good classics, but I know a lot of people are like, oh, I like the classics, like, super old movies.
Yeah.
Gone
The
with
Maltese
the
Falcon or something.
And
yeah.
I'm not going to claim.
The classics for you began in 1991.
I'm not going to claim that I used to watch all these, Rosebud and,
right.
and all those. I have seen them. I respect them, but like I can't really relate to something that's that old.
Right.
And I'm sure people are going to shit on me for saying something like that, but
maybe
I really started liking films when I could start understanding them and have an appreciation for them. So it kind of started in the same era that I was watching them, as opposed to looking back on them.
So these big ones that you loved when you were a kid, when you were younger, have you worked with any of the people that, have you ever had these moments, these sort of surreal moments where you're like, oh my God, that's one of the guys that I used to watch in this movie on VHS when I was a kid.
I've had really surreal moments for a lot of different films. Are you talking about people I've worked with or people I've met?
Well, yeah, both. More towards who you've actually worked with or actually got to know.
Yeah, so I just did a film with Dolph Lundgren called Altitude. I produced with, one of my producing partners, Richard Switzer. Richard and I have done 6 films, and our sales agent, Taylor and Dodge, Tyler Connie, we've done 6 films together. And it was really cool to see him because I remember him as Trago. And so meeting him, on set.
Drago? You mean?
Drago from Rocky IV.
Oh, yeah. Ivan Drago.
My apologies. My apologies.
Me too. By the way, I have to tell you this, something about that. With him.
Yeah.
And this is like again, this is not a... damn, that's a loud motorcycle. Sorry, guys. This is not a Citizen Kane kind of thing. We're talking about Rocky IV. But when I saw that movie when I was a kid, I'm a little older than you, and it had a huge impact on me. And this is why it was the Reagan era. It was the Cold War. Dude, when Rocky knocked out Ivan Drago in Rocky IV, the fucking crowd jumped in the theater, packed theater, sold out, jumped to their feet and cheered. And that moment had a big impact on me, just as far as movies. I mean, it's not the movie itself, but just the communal experience of being in the theater and having people literally jump on their fucking feet and cheer when that happened. I've never seen anything like it since.
That's actually one of the things that draws me to entertainment is if you can let someone, a lot of people go through a lot of shit in their life. Like, life is hard, ups and downs, You may have a loved one get cancer. You may have any amount. You may get fired one day randomly. Anything in this world that is a significant event, I like to be able to provide the entertainment to let them escape from reality for maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours. And to be able to provide that entertainment and to hopefully make a stamp on history of film.
Yeah.
That's another thing that really drew me to it.
And that's what drives you right now?
That absolutely drives me to it.
So, can you be a little more specific? Is there anything more specific about that as far as when you say entertainment? Is there a certain kind of thing that you that you're looking for?
I do a lot of different films. I do a lot of family, thriller, horror, comedy, drama, everything. Yeah, I've done. One day I'm sitting on set doing a kids film, and the next day I'm having someone being stabbed in the eye. It's an exaggeration from one day to the next, but sometimes not really. We did wrap a film Thursday, and we're in production Monday, and that's this week.
A completely different one.
Completely different one.
This was an action movie, right? And you've done several action movies.
Several action films. So the past action film that we did. And I know I'm jumping around, and I apologize.
No, it doesn't. Please do.
Let's keep it a nice fluid motion. So the past film that we wrapped on Thursday is called Altitude, which I mentioned. And
with Ivan Drago.
With Dolph Lundgren, Denise Richards is the lead. We have Chuck Liddell, Greer Grammer.
Chuck Liddell, the UFC guy.
The UFC champion. Jonathan Lipnicki.
You had a picture with him, by the way. You tell me a little story about that earlier.
Of Chuck Liddell. That's actually a pretty funny story. So Chuck Liddell is a very big, very strong, intimidating guy. He's a UFC champion. So I went over to Chuck and I said, Chuck, I know you're only on set for one day. I'm one of the producers, one of the investors of the film. I'd love to take a picture with you. And I apologize. I know you have a lot to do today, but
the producer of the movie was actually a bit starstruck.
I would say more intimidated than starstruck.
But he's a nice guy, right?
Oh, he's super nice, but he's
scary.
He's a scary dude. So he said, "Oh, sure." And we went to take a picture, and in most of my pictures, I have a big smile. I love smiling big and putting my arm around the person. Well, I went to put my arm around him, and he kind of just stopped and stared at me. So I was like, so you can actually see the picture. I'm kind of like sitting there with my hands at my sides next to him instead of like smiling and having my arm around
awkward
him.
and stiff with.
But it was actually pretty funny.
Yourself, maybe.
Possibly, very, very possible. Yeah, none. But he was awesome, and he did a really good job.
And so that just wrapped.
That just wrapped on Thursday. It's called Altitude.
Okay, so it's hard to say when that's going to be distributed, right?
It's going to be 2017. We have a lot of visual effects that's going to go into it. So it's going to take a little bit longer than our normal post-production. But yeah, it'll be all right. It'll be good. So we've already had really, really good sales on it. We just had an article in Variety of how good the sales are doing. And then that's Taylor and Dodge.
How good the sales are, and you finished shooting like 3 days ago.
Oh, pretty much. We had a lot of good sales before we even started the film, but yes. Even after the film. Yeah,
you are really, really rolling then. And you are a fucking workhorse. Like, you are a really busy dude. How many do you have? What's your slate looking like right now? Now and ahead. Do you have any idea?
It's hard to say because this is going to sound ridiculous, but I have about 20 films in development and 17 TV shows in development. So I work on a lot of projects. You put a lot of irons in the fire and hope that, some of them go through, because a lot of projects don't come to fruition.
Right. And that's actually very common for a producer, right?
It's very common.
You juggle a lot of things at once.
So right now I'm currently shooting a family film in Connecticut with my boys. Richard Switzer, David Gear, Jarrett First, our line producer. And we're doing well. We're in day 3, going into day 4 tomorrow. It's a family film. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say all the talent, but it's a good family film directed by Christy Carlson Romano. Mm-hmm. She was in Even Stevens with Shia LaBeouf. She's also the voice for Kim Possible, and she's directing it. It was written by her and Richard and George Saunders also had written the original script. It's going well. I know we have a lot of Disney and Nickelodeon stars in it, and I think it's actually going to perform really well. It's called Christmas All Over Again. Uh-huh. And it's, we didn't steal any concept, but if I were to say the Hollywood slang, it's this and this.
It's this.
I would say it's Groundhog's Day meets A Christmas Story or something like that. It's going to be a nice, cute kids' Christmas movie, and hopefully we'll be as lucky as to have it run for 7 days straight.
Right, like the marathons.
The marathons they do during Christmas, which is funny. I was actually telling you, there's such a gluttony of Christmas films, but at the same time, there is so many spots during the Christmas break. Christmas is sometimes 1 or 2 weeks, and especially for the entertainment industry, it kind of shuts down the entire 2 weeks of December. So, a lot of people are sitting at home and watching movies.
Yeah, I remember scrolling through with a girlfriend at the time. So Christmas, it's like you scroll through Netflix and you're like, I've seen that one, seen that.
Exactly.
Is there any you haven't seen yet? Because you've seen every one of them like 10 times.
Exactly. So there's a lot of availability, and all these networks are still looking for Christmas content. So, you know what? I'm shooting a Christmas movie. Or more specifically, my team in Connecticut is shooting a Christmas movie in March, and it's awesome. I don't even care, because we could shoot it any time of the year. Yeah, because there's always need for Christmas films, which is awesome.
What do you think? I'm curious what your creative input is as a producer, like how you, because really you're kind of in a way. I mean, and you correct me if I'm wrong. It's sort of like you're kind of making a soup, and you're throwing in different ingredients with it's this director and these actors, and then there's so many other variables.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about what you do creatively? I mean, all business aside, do you feel like a producer is a creative position as well?
It depends. There's very different producers. There's a lot of producers that are creative, that come up with concepts, that come up with ideas and help switch the story from the original script. And then there's producers that are all money, talent, more putting together the deal. I would consider myself less of a creative producer, although I wish I were more creative. I would say I'm more of the business aspect of producing. So getting talent, putting together the finances, doing sales, doing distribution.
So speak more about this then, because here's the thing. A lot of people, when you say producer, I think a lot of people have the misconception that, that's the guy that just pays for the movie, like finances it. And producers do a lot. They do a lot more.
I mean,
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
About what you started to talk about, but go ahead and elaborate on that.
I would say I'm more of a business-oriented producer, or for this topic, I'm more of an executive producer than I am like a creative producer. I don't really rewrite scripts. I mean, I have had script input, and for some of my scripts, I wrote them and I'm the producer. But for the most part, I more put together the money, the talent. I help find locations. I help get sponsorships. I help get money.
You make it all happen, essentially. You're the guy who puts it all together. I'm more for recently. I'm more of the producer that puts together the deal and then lets the production happen. Yeah.
So,
but that is actually creative, really. If you look at it from another angle, I mean, you. But
when you say creative, what I think
not
is
that you're like at a typewriter, and you're with a cigarette dangling off your lip. It's with a bourbon or something. I mean, it's not like that, but really, I mean.
Yeah,
the fact that you're putting this together and making it happen,
it's putting together the packages.
Creative.
There is other producers that are much more creative, which will go through the script with a fine-tooth comb and say, "Oh, we need to change this. We need to do this, and we need to do this."
More hands-on.
More hands-on.
Yeah.
And I do that, but I do it more from a perspective of, well, you had a sequence of 7 different shots. Just shot. But that's going to cost us X amount of dollars.
Okay.
Mine's more of, well, do we really need a helicopter landing on the Super Bowl? Is that really worth the benefit of us doing it? Because it's going to cost us a shitload of money to do that. So I'm more of a reasonable, money,
more practical.
Yeah.
So I know you've done some action movies that are low budget. Yeah. Like big kind of turnover, like Tom Sizemore sort of red boxy type action movies, right?
Yeah. So we did Blue Line, also in Connecticut. We like shooting in Connecticut. We have a lot of people that are out in Connecticut. We have really good crews, really good locations. David Gear actually is really close with the mayor of Cromwell, Connecticut. So that's where we shot Blue Line, and he gets amazing deals, and they're super friendly, super nice to us.
Connecticut, you don't hear that often.
You
just spilled the secret right there.
When you get a hookup like that, you tend to go where you get treated well. Like Cheers, you go where everyone knows your name.
80s reference for everybody.
Yeah, which, by the way, I was 2. We have really good connections there. So, we work with a lot of really good people out there. Woodhaven Productions, Tommy, and David, and all the guys out there.
Are you planning to do more of those type of action movies? Tom Sizemore, by the way, was he was a guy who, in the 90s, beginning with Heat, I was a huge fan of this guy. Like, this was a guy, I started out acting, and this was a guy that I didn't really want to be, I didn't even want to be like some kind of big movie star or something. I guess you could say that he is, but.
I mean, he was in Saving Private Ryan?
Yeah, but he didn't.
I
And
guess you could say
he
he's
didn't
big.
actually carry films, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
he was like a major character actor.
He was a
sort of.
main ensemble
Right.
type. Yeah.
But that's like the guy I was like, God, that's what I wanted a career like that, you know, and I really admired this guy.
Yeah.
And Michael Mann did some TV series around early 2000s. It was some LA cop series. It was like one season or something, unfortunately. One or two seasons. And
I remember that.
My girlfriend at the time was an actor and had a part in one of these series, and he ended up like not stalking, but really going after. It was like, dude, you really kind of destroyed my. But anyway, and then I got to see him in Pearl Harbor. I was there, and I'm like, where's Waldo on that movie? You can spot me in there somewhere.
Oh, really?
But it was a really cool thing.
I'm gonna have to. You need
really
to tell
is
me.
like,
I'm gonna
where's Waldo?
freeze frame it and send it to you.
But I was there for about a week, and it was cool. It was cool. And Michael Shannon, by the way, was in that movie. Not to change the subject too much, but I remember seeing that. This is when he was unknown.
Yeah.
And I thought, this guy's about my age, maybe a little bit older. I was a little jealous.
Michael Shannon from 99 Homes, the one that
Michael Shannon from all kinds of stuff. What's the thing?
Boardwalk
off the top
Empire?
Of my head? Yes, Boardwalk Empire.
Oh, yeah, I love him.
The new General Zog and Superman.
Yeah. He's he's awesome.
He's a great actor, and I remember watching him back then, thinking he had a really tiny part, but I was like, this guy's really good.
Oh,
so it's kind of funny seeing what happened to him since then.
Yeah. But
anyway, Tom Sizemore, I got to see him work a little bit, and it was really cool for me to do that. And I'm actually happy that he's kind of getting back in the saddle again. But do you have any stories about that you can divulge about him or no?
He's actually on the new David Lynch series. He's one of the leads in the reboot of Twin Peaks.
No shit, I didn't know that.
He is one of the leads, yeah, with Naomi Campbell and some really big names. It's incredible.
Well, that's going to be big for him then.
It's going to be really big. To go back to your question, do I have some stories for you? I have.
Well, let's get into some stories in general. Let's just get into, because I know
lots of stories. I
already know that you do have stories. We talked for a couple hours, and before tonight, I've heard many good stories. I don't know what you can tell, or if there's anything you can think off the top of your head. You don't even have to mention names, but I know you have some decent stories.
Yeah, I have some good ones. I'm gonna have to take a pass on Tom
on him.
Sizemore
Sure, that's all right.
But I do have some good ones about him. I just don't know if I'll get in trouble or not for him.
So you can say this big name guy.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So I have a story about this. Oh man,
sounds like a Starsky and Hutch episode. Out
we're Grand Race Auto over here. So.
And that was like a Geo Metro or something.
That was a Fiat 500. So I have a good story about. I was running a indie studio at the time, and
what was it called?
It was called MPC. Okay. MPC, and we were doing smaller films, and I was running it with a couple of friends, and it actually became a really big show, a really big company. And I say that, all right, maybe not really big. All right, we at one point we had maybe 100 people working for us.
That's pretty big.
And it was on Wilshire in Beverly Hills, the old ICM building, old MySpace Music building.
Is that the one with the big fountain in front?
It's
or
a big,
like
it's a big pyramid.
Or something? Yeah, right.
So that was our office, and yeah, we were doing lots of different things, and things ended up falling out, but I'll save that for another day.
Okay, that's okay. I don't mean to put you on the spot when I say stories.
I don't care. I had a meeting, and at the time I was, I was working at the studio, running the studio, and one of my assistants, it was his first day, and I had A-list of A-list. I say this with confidence. Anyone in the world would say this guy is A-list.
I know who this is.
You know who this is, but I can't.
Yeah, so this is one of the biggest movie stars in the world.
Biggest movie stars in the world.
And has been for several decades.
Yes. I can't say who because I fear for my life. So I had him into my office, and he runs a very large studio, and he works for all the big studios. So essentially, we were trying to put together a deal where something that wouldn't go through Paramount or Universal or Warner Brothers or Fox, any of the big studios, or his big studio as well that he runs. So it was going to be smaller budget films that we would do under a label without his name attached. So he wasn't just throwing away all this content that he was getting pitched, but he really liked. So
because he gets a ton. He gets everything.
I'm sure he gets a zillion script, or I'm sure not him directly, but his team, his camp,
right?
Gets a zillion scripts a week. So instead of going through one of the majors or his own studio, he wanted to try and be able to put it through another outlet, which wasn't his own. And it just so happened that my lawyer and his lawyer were very good friends. So our lawyers set up a meeting, and he comes in, and we chat about this exact thing about the deal, and it lasted about an hour and a half. And my assistant, whose first day it was, is like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I cannot believe this. Just today alone, you've had 6 meetings, one with the biggest star in the world. Another one was about buying jets." He's like, "I don't know who the fuck I'm working for." I'm like, "Yeah, normally you don't get that in a resume when you're applying."
Right.
It's not like, "Oh, I work with this person, this person, this person. By the way, we're going to talk about hundreds of millions of dollars on a daily basis." Because like hundreds of millions of dollars in regular life is like, holy shit.
Right.
But in like movie terms, it's like,
it's the norm.
Yeah, all right, that makes sense.
Or in Hollywood.
Yeah, and in Hollywood.
In sort of studio level.
Yeah. So he was really surprised about that. And then
it's such a bizarre business. Like only in this business do like anything go. Like my sister worked as a production coordinator on a TV show. I guess I probably shouldn't mention it, but like there was some producer lady that would like regularly would like throw plates and shit at her, and everybody like crazy.
Throw plates.
And I met some of these, and there's so many fucking crazy people in this business, but. Where would that be allowed in any other business? In any other business, is that acceptable?
There is so many things that happen in this industry that are completely unacceptable.
In this business, no one gives a shit about what your past is. You don't need, like, you could be fresh out of prison, and if you can make somebody money, basically, that's fine. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't even...
there's been
credentials don't even really matter.
There's been numerous... like articles released about like murderers and drug traffickers that fund major motion pictures. I'm not going to mention who or what, and I'll probably get in trouble for that, but that actually happens.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So this is an interesting thing about the industry is it doesn't matter what you know. It almost really is who you know. And it's such a weird industry that here, and I'm not an actor. I mean, I've been in a lot of projects that I produce, but only because
you make your little cameos like Hitchcock.
Yeah. I like doing the cameos, but also majority of the time it's more I'm asked to do something. It's like, all right, who's not completely ugly? Perfect. Jared, you're a waiter.
Go shoot that guy.
Or Jared, you're a bartender.
Right.
Go.
Right.
But this is I can understand what actors go through because there is no other industry in the world where every day you go into work and you're not just going to you're not going to your desk and doing a job. Every day you have to audition to work. It's not like you just have the job. You have to every single time try out to have your job.
Can you talk about that a little more? Like, what do you mean exactly?
What I mean is, like, if you're an accountant, you're hired, right?
Right.
You're hired, and you go to work every single day, and
Right.
you go to an office, and you do certain things, and you do this and this and this, and that's your job.
Right.
You're hired. You do a job. When you're an actor, you're
see.
not
As an
hired.
actor. Right.
You don't just go in and you have the job every day. Every single time you have to prove that you're worth being hired.
Is that
every couple
true?
weeks or every commercial or every show or every movie.
Right, like some big people still have to audition, for example.
Yeah. Well,
but is that true for you, basically, as far as...
no. Well,
not as much. I mean...
Sometimes. Like, all right, so the show that I work on that
I don't mean literally audition, but I mean...
No, but
selling yourself, essentially.
It's not necessarily an audition, but I'll give you a good example. The show that I won an Emmy for, the series, with my guys, Gregory J. Martin, and Christos Andrews, and all the entire team and cast and crew, and they're all awesome.
You can go ahead and plug that in. It's The Bay.
It's The Bay. You can watch it on thebaytheseries.com. Big announcements coming soon.
Okay.
But the way that I met them is I kind of submitted myself for a producer on a movie that we did before. It was called A Place Called Hollywood. And I had to submit, I've produced this and this and this and this. And I had a legit interview. I mean, it's not the
like
same.
A real job interview. Well,
Yeah.
we have a ghetto bird flying over us. It just says we're in
Breaker,
LA.
breaker.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily an audition, but I had to send in a resume, and I had to go through the process. And
right.
Luckily, I was hired on that film, and then hired onto the series that they do afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I did a good job on A Place Called Hollywood. So, I was able to be hired for the series as well. And then. I don't know if I mentioned this. I might have.
About that series? Place Called- that was part of the thing that we were at that party for the other night, too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. We were at the...
which I made fun of the step and repeat thing, and you caught me
thank
on
you for
Twitter.
that, by the way. No, Facebook. You said,
oh, yeah.
the best way to avoid being a
looking
douchebag on the red carpet is to walk around it. And, of course, he didn't block me. And I was like, how dare you bastard.
I like making fun of that.
Yeah,
but anyway, thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely, yeah.
But anyway,
my pleasure. I mean, we're trying to work on Siciliato together. Am I allowed to talk about that or no?
Yeah, sure, of course.
I mean, you.
Oh, I mean, I haven't talked about that. This is only the third podcast, so I mean, I don't talk about myself that much. But so I was gonna do my first feature that I wrote with my partner Hoos Miller, who will probably be on the show eventually, actually. Hopefully after we make the movie, right?
Yeah.
But I was gonna make it about a year and a half ago, and we were talking about this too.
Yeah,
I spent about a year on this thing, and then it came within. By the way, Paul Walker was interested in doing this thing, who I didn't even. I have to admit to you guys, I have never watched the Fast and Furious movies, not one of them. So I wasn't even really sure who he was. I knew about the movies and I know how huge they were, but so
you never watched Into the Blue or one of those things either?
So his accident happened not long after we heard that he was interested, actually. But anyway,
okay.
So we were going to do this thing, and the financing fell through, which happens often, which is what we were talking about.
I mean,
more often than not, right?
That I would say that happens more often than not. I've had so many projects where you work on it and just the financing falls out or people are full of shit. I mean, there's various reasons that happen, but yeah, very often it happens. And more so when I first started out, when I was like kind of testing the waters. Now that I have a really good crew that I'm working with, things don't fall apart as much when we're developing it ourselves, because we know we're going to develop it and finance it ourselves.
Yeah, and it's up to you, basically.
And it's up to us.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when I first started, I would get a zillion projects and people would say, oh, this person's attached, and then you find out from the agent, I've never even heard of this project.
Right.
But
there is a lot of that in this city.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully we can Hopefully we'll do that, and hopefully, well, you guys will all hear about it, obviously, if this happens. But we could talk about more of that later.
Sure.
But and obviously, if we do this, then we'll be back on. After we do this,
I would love to.
But I would too. I would too.
Hopefully, I'll be screaming, having drinks, naked, saying how successful our film are.
Yes. So tune in 1 year, hopefully. So about producing, like, is there anything that you could talk about as far as maybe someone that, as far as advice, let's say like someone that wants to do this?
Sure.
Can you talk about what it takes? What does it take to make a movie? Because this is a colossal undertaking.
Sure.
And let's just say, for example, it's somebody that was not born here and went to Beverly Hills High School and whatever, and grew up and knows everybody. Let's say it's a guy who is in Seattle or something, and he has a script and he wants to do this stuff.
I'm the poster boy of not having anyone in entertainment, because I was born in Carmel, California, up north, but I was raised in Maryland, and I went to Virginia Tech, finance and IT, and I came out here and I was working for a big finance company, not anything to do with entertainment, and I kind of fell into it. And I was lucky because I had a series of events that just progressively got better and better, but that's not the typical thing. But that's the best part about entertainment, is there is no typical method to get into entertainment.
Right. There's not a clear path. Like, you're going to go to a college and then you're going to go like get in at a firm or something, and then you start whatever. Like I said, you can literally be fresh out of prison and then succeed in Hollywood.
Absolutely.
Literally.
I think there's quite a few people that have done that. Like all those. No, and I'm not saying that like in a negative way, but like wasn't Danny Trejo? Wasn't he like a gangster?
Oh yeah, he was.
And he's been in 500 films or something crazy like that.
And Eddie Bunker. One of my favorite books of all time is called No Beast So Fierce. Eddie Bunker wrote, and he was the guy that John Voight played him basically in Heat. That was Eddie Bunker. And Eddie Bunker was Mr. Blue in Reservoir Dogs. The older guy. He was a big bank robber, and he did all kinds of time. And anyway, so that's another example. And he and Danny Trejo actually were friends from
San Quentin.
I think it might have been San Quentin. Yeah, it was somewhere like that. But anyway.
So back to... Yeah, so my advice, and I gave this, it sounds so corny, but I gave this advice to, I had a niece that did a project on 3 people, and the project was about careers, and so she chose me and my brother Justin. My brother's a successful restaurateur, and she did a section, one of the people was me, and this was the advice. One of the questions was, what advice would you give to kids? And they were in 5th grade. What advice would you give to kids that wanted to get into your profession? And my advice was, do whatever you can to make it in the industry. And what I mean by that is, do anything. Start as a PA. Start as a runner. Get coffee. Be on set, be an extra. Anything you're doing, I try and do as much as possible in the entertainment industry. When I was first starting, I would be an extra. I would be a PA. I would ask.
So you did all that stuff,
of course. I mean, I would go out of my way to find any single job I could do to be on set or be around people and network and give them my card and do this, that, and the other. Anything you can to, be involved in what you want to do. And it just doesn't apply to the entertainment industry. It applies to any other industry. Whatever you can do to be involved in your field that you want to be in. And I think that it really helps to immerse yourself in the industry that you want to be in. And I've said this before, on my Facebook and some other platforms, is you have to look at it like this. If you want to be successful at something, is you need to look at it as your full-time job. If you want to be in entertainment, you have to know what it's like to struggle so much that you would do anything in the world to succeed. And here's an example. If you're in a pool and you go down too deep, you struggle with your entire life to get to air, right? So imagine that scenario in your industry. Struggle so much that you want to breathe. Fight so hard to be successful at your industry that you want to get to air. And that is when you'll start realizing what it really takes to be successful. I mean, some of these guys that are just multi-billionaires from producing or any other industry, they fought so hard, and you can't even imagine the struggles that they've gone through to get where they are. If you put your all into something, I mean, literally, humans are an amazing species where they can accomplish the most crazy goals in the world if they put their minds to it. But there's truly a struggle. And once you start realizing that, all right, do I want to go, and my girlfriend's going to hate me for this, do I want to go have dinner with my girlfriend, or do I want to be on set, and do I want to be working towards my goal? Do I want to, is this more important than going out with my friends and having a beer? It really takes a lot of work. And I'll give you an example. I worked so much that I put myself in the emergency room. I was doing 2 movies at the same time, and I was lead producer on. And one movie was shooting from noon until midnight. The other movie was shooting from midnight until noon.
Wow.
And I did that for multiple weeks, and I put myself in the hospital, and the doctor's like...
Was this exhaustion?
Yeah. I mean, it was exhaustion, and the doctor was like, "You're not sleeping. You're not eating right." It's because my diet was, coffee and Twizzlers.
Right.
And add no sleep for a couple weeks. He's like, "Really? Stop being a fucking idiot."
But this is what it takes. You don't understand. Like, I'm really glad that you started to talk about this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a really important thing, and this is actually a common through line. This is only the 3rd podcast, but it's the same thing. These other 2 guys at Brian Larkin and Kevin Schulman. Brian Larkin, an actor. I mean, 14 years he was working before he got this movie London Has Fallen with Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
I mean, he was working as an actor, doing other things, but he, was doing like security jobs. But he gave everything that he did 100%. And the same thing with Kevin Schulman. He really ground it out for years, busted his ass. So... that's what it takes. You cannot half-ass it in any art, can you? Or in anything, really.
Yeah.
So this is exactly what I wanted to hear about. Like, what does it take to do what you do, or to make a movie, or just to do what you do?
It takes a lot. I mean, I've gone through that where I've put myself in the hospital from exhaustion, but it's not just that. It is mentally draining. Like, on a daily basis, and I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying this as this is what I really do. Like, I'll wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning. I have meetings and phone calls and emails all day long. I'm on set all day long. And even while I'm on set, I'm working on other deals. So I'm fortunate enough to have a really good team on a lot of my projects where I'm able to jump off set, have a meeting, or have phone calls while I'm on set. But yeah, you have to constantly grind. And it's really hard when you're first starting out. I mean, another aspect is you don't make a lot of money when you're first starting out. A lot of your jobs as a PA or an intern, or some of them are unpaid. You're just getting experience. You're just getting contacts. So it's really difficult to hop into this industry where having no pay is a norm.
Again, that's another sort of anomaly.
Yeah.
In this business, it's a little different than others, where that happens more often.
It's acceptable, and obviously it's not legal. It's against the law, and that's why there's so many lawsuits coming up with some of these major corporations. There's lawsuits because people that are working on major motion pictures as interns are not being paid, and they're like, we're doing something that someone you would pay is doing the same job.
Yeah.
So yes, there's legalities to it, but again, I'm not saying go sue your boss who's not paying you, because that will probably not do too good for you in the long run. But it happens, and sometimes it's a weight on. All right, do I want to do this? Do I want to get the experience versus am I going to give up this job and go work at Coffee Bean and make a living?
Right. Right. Or
a combination of both.
Because maybe if you don't have a certain real need for it, then you probably shouldn't do it, because it takes so much to really what do you think about as far as personal qualities? I just realized, I'm not going to mention a very famous producer, very, very famous, very well-established producer. There are more than one.
Yeah.
That's, pretty well known for not being maybe the best human being. There's a lot of sharks in this business, and there isn't in any, really, in any field, but there in this business maybe more so than others, and you're a nice guy.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have any desire to go in that direction, and you don't feel there's not a need for it, is there? Or what do you think about personal qualities and making your foray into this business?
I don't think there's a need to be a shark or an asshole. I think there is a happy medium between being assertive and getting what you need versus being a fucking shithead.
Yeah.
And it's a fine line. I mean, at some points you have to kind of put your foot down.
Yeah.
You seem like an asshole, but it doesn't need to be that way all the time. I mean, you can get your point across with being assertive and just stating the facts. I need this and this and this done. If they don't like it, fine. I mean, I'll give you a good example. I've been on set, and I've been the lead producer on a lot of shows and movies. And you have to just say, look, hey, PAs, I need you to go do this. I need you to go make this run. I need you to make this run. I need you to make this run. Mm-hmm. And after a while, they're like, oh my God, I can't keep getting coffee every hour. Well, you know what? Sometimes that's part of paying your dues.
Well, somebody else will.
Yeah. I'm sorry, if you can't do it, fine.
Yeah.
You know what? There was 200 other people that submitted their applications, and they're fine to do it.
Yeah. And you did it.
Yeah, and I did it.
And you won an Emmy.
And I won an Emmy.
So there you go.
Even as a executive producer, as a producer, as an investor in lots of films, I still will go get coffee or donuts or run and check a location. I mean,
that says a lot about you, man. That's what a real leader is to me. I've actually talked about this also in a previous episode. Yeah, and it's like that's amazing to me, and that really says a lot. If you're willing to do, if you're going to ask someone of something, it's something that you wouldn't be willing to do yourself. Basically, you know what I mean?
Exactly. I wouldn't ask anything that I wouldn't be willing to do myself. Now, there is certain circumstances where I'm on set and I have to be on set.
You're busy. You got your own. It's not like you want to go get coffee, but I mean, but you're going to do whatever it takes to get shit done and make shit happen.
Exactly. And a lot of times when I'm the head producer, you will see me the first on set, the last one to leave, cleaning up fucking trash that people leave.
You do that?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll help out. If I'm going to have PAs walking around clean up stuff, the quicker we get done, we succeed as a team, not as a dictator telling people what to do. Now, don't get me wrong. I've had my moments where I'm like, okay, I've been up since 4 a.m. It's now 2 a.m. I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I've had those nights where I'm like, I'm not doing it tonight. But for the most part, it's a team effort. So I like to lead by example and not dictating to other people.
Well, I think we're going to wrap it up here in a second.
Okay.
I think we've been going for a while. But did you want to talk a little bit about things that you might have planned for the future, or anything that you might want to plug, or anything, things that you might want to do, or anything else that you might want to say?
Sure. I have quite a few projects coming up. We're working on another
action film. What is that?
It doesn't have a title yet.
Okay. City Auto?
Untitled action film, which we're going to do kind of like on a submarine.
A submarine movie?
A submarine movie.
I love submarine movies.
Yeah, well, that's
a great genre.
So action.
Dust Boots, one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
Anyway, go ahead.
That's coming up. I have another project I'm working on with 2 huge comedy actors. I can't say. Probably shooting in Georgia soon. I'm working on another project called Hellstorm with writer-director William Butler, my producing partner Nick Bicey. And that's with CM Punk from WWE. Now he's going to be a MMA fighter.
Okay.
And his wife, AJ Brooks, I think is her name. I don't know if she goes by AJ Lee, which is her like character name, or AJ Brooks, which is her real name.
Well, hopefully we got it.
I'm sure I'm going to get in trouble for that, but that's fine. Then we have Margaret Cho, the comedian, and quite a few other really... Brian Goff, awesome actor. Quite a few other people. That's going to be shooting in Mississippi, hopefully in the next few months. And then, I like I said, I have 20 movies in development and 16 TV shows. Hopefully, I'm working on a reality show with Asylum Entertainment. I can't say what networks we've been pitching, but we have some good good traction with some of the networks with my brother and Travis, Justin Safier and Travis Lester. We'll see. Lots of stuff coming up. I'm really excited about. I have quite a few network TV shows in the works that I should be hearing back within the next few months.
Jesus.
And I've quite a few movies coming up. I'm working on another project with called Rhythm with my producing partner Jason Avalos. That's going to be really like a really good, solid movie. It's not going to be any fluff. And Jason keeps stressing how he's a writer, director, and actor in it, and producing with me. But he wants to do 20 takes per scene. He wants to get really solid performances, and he's had a film in Cannes, which he did the similar technique. So really excited about that one coming up. I have another comedy coming up called What the F Is He Thinking? I'm doing with Joe Carlini. Going to be cinematography by Tyler Rousseau, who I've done about, 4 or 5 films with.
It's about 100 movies.
Yeah. So, all right, before I have the tape run out, metaphorically, lots of good things coming up, and then hopefully, our project we're gonna get up and running.
That would be great. Which we'll talk about more. That would really be great. But okay, do you want to give your Twitter handle or anything like that, or anything to follow?
Sure, you can find me on Twitter. I think it's J Safier, JSAFIER. My website's Safier Entertainment, which is S as in Sam, A, F as in Frank, IER, ENT.com. I have about 6 Facebook pages, 3 different Jared Safiers, 1 Safier Entertainment, 1 Safier Management Group. I don't know. You can find me all over. All you have to do is
look at
my
your name, Google your name.
It's literally millions of results. So,
well, dude, seriously, you really are. You're really inspiration. Your work ethic and your attitude. It's really fucking impressive. And I'm really, really glad that you took a minute to.
Absolutely, my
have
pleasure.
A couple vodka sodas with me. No, I had them. You didn't. I had them.
Oh no, I had vodka Red Bulls.
So really, seriously though, thanks for taking the time to do this, man.
Absolutely, it was my pleasure. I really enjoyed being on.
Cool, great talk.
Cool.
So that was Jared Safier. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I thought that was really inspirational, actually, myself. And like always, whenever you record something or you say something, it's like later you think, oh, I wish we would have talked about that. We actually hung out for probably a couple hours after we recorded this talk. And we were telling stories about how we both knew, like and obviously I'm not going to get specific, but I was friends with somebody, for example, who is a regular now on a really, really popular TV show, a cable network TV show. And so I've known him for a while, and obviously he blew up on this thing. And since he blew up on this thing, he doesn't answer. I haven't even seen him. He doesn't answer texts very often. It's one of those kind of bummer, disappointing stories. And it happens. And he had a story he wished he included, a similar one about Same kind of thing. It was a guy who was in a huge series. Friends for years and years. Really, really good friend. And he got on a big series, and he was a regular. And then he dropped off, totally ignored him. And then years later, Jared started producing. And this guy, his work had dried up as an actor. And then Jared saw that he had, I guess his agent had submitted for something that he was doing. So they called him in. And so sure enough, he's sitting in front of Jared, and Jared called him out. Hey, man, what's up? I haven't talked in a while. So yeah, long story short, he didn't hire him. But I thought that was a really kind of cool story, because he's a loyal guy, you know. He's a hardworking, loyal guy, and that's just something I really appreciate. And you know, that's kind of a through line in the guys that I've talked to so far here, and I hope it keeps going. I really I love that. I love what that's all about. So yeah, that's it. Here's the thing about when I ask about reviewing and rating on iTunes, please do it if you can. If you just take a second to do it. It's not about likes, you know, about popularity. What it is iTunes actually will help promote the show if we get more of that. So if you get a second to please go to iTunes and rate the show, it'd really be helpful. Hope you enjoy, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.